Okay, thank you for being in this 5th session. It's called The Natural of General Purpose of Biocomputer. So be free to ask any question and to participate. So we're gonna start the reading. Thank you, Elise.
The nature of the general purpose biocomputer. 1. The self-metaprogram can make instructions to create special states of the computer. Many of these special states have been described in the literature on hypnosis.
Look, the self-metaprogrammer just does all these kinds of things, and it just does it automatically. It can create special states and all kinds of special states. It can get you to look at yourself in the mirror to see things that aren't really there. You can impose other people over your face, etc. There's all kinds of things that it'll do. What Lily's trying to point out right here in the first assumption here is this: is that the self-metaprogrammer has a special state where it can program or metaprogram, write metaprograms as is needed. In other words, it can adjust them, it can do all kinds of things, and it does that without your conscious input at all. It has never needed your unconscious input because it doesn't require your conscious input, not anywhere. It happens unconsciously. That means that consciousness isn't invited to that party. Consciousness can be aware of it, conscious can mark the event, etc. Consciousness can say, you know what, I need to do this differently, but the actual activity of writing the program is done automatically by the self-metaprogrammer. And it can make mistakes just like consciousness can. So sometimes those mistakes have to be rectified. So, but that's what happens for us, okay? That's a real thing that occurs, and we need to be aware of it. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing, okay? What else we got there, Elise?
Two, these instructions are carried out with relative short delays, minutes. The delays, of course, will vary with the complexity of the task which is being programmed into the computer. It also has a previous history of the same kind of programming. The more often it's been done, the easier it is to do it again, and it takes less time.
Okay, I don't know how you turn that off, that feedback off here before, but we need to do it again. Okay. All right. How long does it take you to make up your mind, you think? It only takes a couple of seconds. Minutes. That's the most that it takes care of. Just minutes. You see, whenever you program a new task, you program a new thing. Where'd you go? You turned me off here, dude.
You have to go up to the, again to the.
I don't know how to get that done there.
This
And then to Slack again. From Slack.
Okay. Oh, okay, I'm back, I guess. Now I'm back, I guess. Okay. All right. The delays, of course, will vary with the complexity of the task.
You make me host again.
Okay, let me make you host again. All right. All right, how about now? All right. The delays always always take take more time, the more complex the task. Think about this thing. Just to alter a memory requires that there's a new synapse grown in various parts of the brain. To alter a memory that's complex, like how to do something or how to communicate something a new language, how to speak a new language, for instance, requires lots and lots and lots of synapses to be grown. Okay, and so there's a thing called causality, which it has a speed, okay, and different things have different causality speeds, but the brain has a causality speed where it takes a certain amount of time for a new idea to be completely integrated within all the synapses and neurons within the brain. Okay, so that the brain uses that data as information. It can take a matter of minutes. It could take maybe a matter of hours for something less complex, or even a matter of days or years for something that's very complex, like language, for instance. Okay, what we're talking about here is relatively complex, so it's not something that you're going to pick up from night to the morning. Generally speaking, in fact, when people take one of these classes in the evening, what ends up happening for them is that they end up spending the rest of the week putting a lot of it back together. The causality takes almost a week for them for the brain to catch up with it because of the new information. Okay, that's, in other words, that's something that's happening for everybody in these classes if it's new information for you. Okay, it's not new information. It's information that's been around for quite a while, but if it's new to you, it takes you a while to integrate it into your thinking as to how you put it to work and what you do with it. Okay, what else we got there, Elise?
Only taboo or forbidden programs are not fully constructed. There are peculiar gaps which give away the fact that there are forbidden areas. Within realizable limits, most of our programs can be produced.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get Elise to actually demonstrate this for you. We'll see, maybe. Elise had a forbidden program when she was a kid, right? The program ran something like this: you can't tell anybody anything that the family's doing. You can't tell anybody. If the family's doing something, it's the family business. You don't tell anybody else. Nothing. And that protected Daddy because Daddy was doing nasty things to the little girl Elise, right? So that was Daddy's protection. Now, the thing is that because of that program being in place, whenever Elise was trying to talk about what was going on between her and Daddy, she couldn't even form a sentence. She has a story about a teacher at school chasing her down saying, "I know something's going on for you. What is it?" And she said, "Nothing, I'm fine." She couldn't form the rest of the program. It was forbidden. Okay, that's an example. There's lots of those kinds of examples for all of us, of things that I will never do this thing. I will never do that thing. I have never considered even that thing because I'm better than that. Really? You have red blood running through your veins? You do, don't you? Are you a human being? I see. Then all those things that the other human beings do it, you're capable of it too. Don't kid yourself. You're capable of it. That you don't do it is a good thing. You do it is a good thing. It doesn't make any difference. But you don't, as long as you're not hurting somebody else, you're fine. Okay, as long as you don't pass that line, whatever you do is up to you. It's a good deal. Okay. At least you need to deal with it that way. Okay. Your mommy might not like it, your daddy might not like it, your Aunt Harriet may not like it, but you have to take care of you, not Aunt Harriet, not mommy, not daddy. You have to take care of you. So you have to do what's best for you in all instances. Because mommy and daddy ain't going to do what's best for you. They're going to do what's best for them. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, they may be as kind and as good-hearted as possible, but they're still going to do what's best for them in the long run. They have to, because what's best for them has got to be what's best for you. It always has been. That's been their commitment to you from the day you were born. What's best, that they're going to do what's best for you, and that means that what's best for them is what they do for you. Their idea of best. That may or may not be the same as your idea of best. I don't know. But you need to stop and look at it to find out what works for you. Okay, what else we got there? This whole thing of holes in your programming is a very interesting concept. Okay, because if you go looking for memories and you can't remember certain things, how come? What happened there? Why can't you talk about that? Why is it you can't go there? Lots of times people find those things out when they're floating as to why that is. That's one of the reasons why people float, is that they can fill in those holes in their thinking. Okay. Okay, number 4.
Four, when one does enter into the storage systems, the way the material is held in the dynamic storage is entirely strange to one's conscious self.
Ain't that the truth? Look, how you stored things when you were 3 or 4 years old and how you remembered things when you were that age probably was chaotic, because your life at that time was fairly chaotic. It was only ordered through mom and dad saying, hey, do this, don't do that, etc. Because left to our own devices, we do all kinds of crazy things at that age. And we don't know why we're doing it or anything else, because consciousness isn't working for us. Reason isn't working for us at that age. If it does, it's an anomaly. It's not a natural state of affairs. So when we're at that age, we store things away in a really strange fashion for us. Okay, it's not necessarily ordered. There's an order to it, but it's not necessarily the order that we use now these days. Okay, because about the time we were 10 or 12 years old, we started figuring out what logic meant to us. Okay, it doesn't mean what logic is; it meant what it means to us. Okay, we started using that part of our brain that we call logic, or we started ordering our feelings into over here, and certain apps went over there. Certain feelings went over there, and certain feelings went over here. The good feelings and bad feelings, and I like chocolate feelings, and I don't like vanilla feelings, and all those kinds of things. Okay, all those are feelings. They're apps. When did you learn them? About 7 to 14, somewhere in that range. And so around 10 or 12, you start putting those. You started ordering those somewhat. So the thing is that when we remember things from childhood, they're discombobulated. They're not connected at all. Okay, they can be fragments over here and fragments over there, but those two fragments mean something because in our mind they're connected somehow or the other. They may or may not be in reality, but in our mind they are. So we need to figure out why they're connected in our mind, because they may be conflicting memories. They may be compatible memories that should be conflicting memories. Okay, you've got to go look for those kinds of things. They're not hard to find because we've run into them 1,000 conflict in ourselves. People have pointed it out to us, probably innumerable times, saying, "The fuck are you talking about? What does that mean? Why are you doing that?" All kinds of stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff. Okay, but people are telling us all the time about those things that we do. And we don't listen to them because we're sure we're right. If we weren't, we wouldn't be doing them, right? Yeah. Okay. So the thing is that you got to stop. That you got to find a place where you can question whether you're right about anything at all. Not because you're not right about things, but you need to question it so that you know whether you're right about it or not. How will you know otherwise? I mean, that just makes sense, right? To stop and say, okay, why do I think this? Why do I think I'm right about this idea or that idea or this concept or that concept? Nobody knows why. Okay, we're just doing it. That's all. Okay, we're in this place where we're just doing the thing, and that's the end of it. That doesn't mean that we're right about it. It only means that we think that we're right about it. I got a wonderful story about this lady that was she worked for AT&T as an operator and supervisor. Now that's way up in the clouds in AT&T, right? because, she was a supervisor apparently of lots of, I don't know, a region of operators, for instance. She came down to Mexico and she went down to Jocotepec and she told them how they should build the old folks home. She didn't know how that was done, but she went and told them. The whole damn thing eventually collapsed because she didn't understand the methods that was needed. She just wanted to get it done. It all collapsed. It cost everybody at the old folks home. Whole town was the old folks don't have a place to stay in the whole entire town because this lady thought she knew something. They had to kick her out of the idea, so she left alone so they could get it done. Okay, she just wouldn't listen. I tried to talk to her myself and she wouldn't listen. She didn't understand how post and beam construction was made. That's what all this is, post and beam construction. She didn't understand it. Doesn't mean she's a bad lady. She just thought she was right and couldn't stop herself to ask her why she thought she was right. She was used to being right. She was accustomed to being whatever she said went. She made a living on it. But in this particular instance, what she thought she knew and what she actually knew wasn't the same. Okay. That's what happens to us at times because we get in this place where we don't understand why it is we're doing things. And we need to slow it down enough to find out why. Okay. It doesn't make any difference why. It's not a right action or a wrong action. It's just find out why the hell am I doing this? That's all. It might be a perfectly legitimate reason, but if I don't know why, I'm acting a fool. If I know why I'm doing it on purpose, that's a different thing. I may still be acting a fool, but I'm at least I know why I'm doing it. Okay, that I think that's important. I think everybody needs to decide whether they want to do something because they're acting foolish or because they're not. I think that's everybody's right to decide that. I don't care what they decide. I do care that they have the right to decide actually, or the information to decide with. That bothers me. That's something I want people to have. Okay, what else we got here, Elise? Number 5, are we? Okay.
Production of displays of data patterns, of instructions or storage contents, or of current problems can be realized through such instructions. A display is any visual or acoustic or tactile, etc., plotting of a set of discriminative variables in any number of dimensions of the currently available materials. The motivational sign and intensity can be varied in any of these displays under special orders.
This comes as a surprise to a lot of people, I guess, but it's still true. When you're thinking about something, what you're doing is you're making a display. All right. That's what you're doing, is that you're making some kind of a display, whether it's auditory, whether it's visual, whether it's linear, whether it's calculations, whether it's something, fingernails on a blackboard, whatever it is. You're making a display that says what this is for you. Okay. And so anytime that you're pulling up a display, whether it's visual or tactile or acoustic or whatever it happens to be, there are any number of discriminative variables. In other words, you're deciding about what the variables are of that thing that you're seeing. You're not seeing something and the variables are forced upon you. You're seeing something and you're setting the variables that you're experiencing. Okay, let me show it to you. Nobody ever believes that until I show it to them. I don't blame you. You shouldn't. So here, let me demonstrate it for you. Okay, so 2 kids at Christmas. You ready? Okay, both of them get the same present, but they're in different families. One kid is enthralled with the present. It's a nice present. It's something that's costly, it's expensive, it's fun to play with. The kid in the other family is bummed. His perceptual variants are different than the first kid. The first kid is happy because he got the thing that he thought he wanted. The second kid is bummed because he got the thing that he didn't think that he wanted. He didn't see that the gift was more than what he wanted. He was bummed because he didn't get what he wanted. Okay, so that motivational sign can be changed. In other words, a wise parent will say to that kid, what in the world are you bummed about? Anybody would have been thrilled to get this gift. But I wanted this other thing. But it's not nearly as expensive as what the thing is that you got, nor is it as useful, nor is it as nice as this thing. So if that's what you're set on, we can take this back and exchange it. So and get this cheap ass thing that you want. Well, if you put it that way, no, I want to keep it. That's what I thought. Okay, that's changing the motivational sign of that particular gift, right? Is making the kid change, not making it, is giving the kid the option of changing it or not. You want to go back and get the cheap ass thing? Great, let's go get that. We want you to be a happy little fucker. It's true. Well, we want him to be happy, right? We don't want him moping around all day Christmas. When you go back, you're going to get that cheap ass thing you get that nobody else is chintzy, but okay, great, you got it. You see, that's the thing though. We can change the motivational sign of any given action. Anyone. But he cheated on me. Did you go with? What, were you mad that he didn't take you with? What are you mad about? He cheated on me. What does that mean, he cheated on you? She went out with I don't know where she went, and she came back and her hair was all messed up. Yeah, she probably fucked somebody. Are you mad because you didn't go with her, or that she didn't bring him home? What's going on with you? See, you could change the motivational sign on that if you wanted to, but people don't want to. They want to hang on to that thing and say, I have been hurt, and so therefore I'm due some kind of justice. Great. What kind of justice do you want? Well, I don't know. Well, me either. In other words, if it's actually eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, you really want to go there? Okay, let's go. In other words, what kind of motivational sign do you want to put on these bad, terrible, awful things? You want to beat the other person up forever and a day because they're human? Okay, great. What a wonderful motivation sign. Does that say anything about who you are? Oh, I suppose it does. When you put it that way. Well, we don't want to say anything about who you are because you're certainly not that thing. Well, then why don't you change your motivational sign on it and kind of cut that other person some slack? I can't. Neither can I. I'm going to agree with you that you can't do it. So that tells me who you are. Okay. Check. Don't want to argue. You're fine. You have a right to think how you think. You also have a right to change the motivational sign if you want to. Both things are true. What else we got? I'm sorry? The motivational sign. Sign. Okay, it says plus or minus. Okay, is this a minus motive? Is this a minus motivating factor, or is this a plus motivating factor? Well, he cheated on me. It's negative. It's awful, terrible. He's a cad and a bastard and an awful person. And you, bitch, what did you do? Yeah, I'll tell you what you did. I will tell you better do. Oh man, there's a couple. That marriage is made in heaven, don't you think so? They're gonna fight forever in a couple of days and probably beat each other. Maybe shoot each other. No, it's fun, all fun and games, right? No, it isn't. It's stupid. Why not change the motivational sign on it? It doesn't cost a damn thing, and then you can get along there. And really, your anger and your hurt is all that important, and you're making it the fuck up. Oh, okay. I'm good. Good on you. If you want to live in that fantasy, me too. What a good fantasy. You should live there. I'm glad I'm not invited. But you can live there. I don't know. What else we got?
6, more or less complete replays of past experiences important in current computations can be programmed from storage. The calendar objective time of the original occurrence seems not too important aspect of the filing system. The level of maturation of the computer at the time of original greater import.
Yeah, that's one of those goodies there. Here's the thing. When you remember something, when you say, this is how I always do this. I don't care whether this is how I do is I like vanilla ice cream. Okay. Okay, great. I'm glad you like vanilla ice cream. That's a visualization, isn't it? That's a display that you're pulling up. And you're replaying why it is that you like vanilla ice cream. You're replaying the taste in your mouth, the creaminess of the ice cream, all kinds of tactile and visual and mental things. It was fun because mom was with her, dad was with her. We went to this place, we went to that place, we always went over there, and it was fun from whatever it was, right? Whatever that thing is, it's a tactile memory. It affects every part of your body. When I was a kid, there was a place out at 5 or 6 miles from where we lived that my dad liked to go to because they had mountain custard is what they called it, which was an ice cream that he liked to get. It's kind of one of those, like those whipped things that you can get at the mall. They do it like that. It was one of those kinds of ice creams, but they made it different because they had a different recipe. But I like to go there because they made peanut butter ice cream. They took peanut butter and they put it in the vanilla ice cream. You got a peanut or a chocolate, depending on which one you wanted. You could get that chocolate peanut butter ice cream, and they had little pieces of chocolate all whipped up in it. Really good when I was a kid. For me, chocolate peanut butter ice cream is a memory. Okay, it's a tactile memory. It's a feeling of oh good, we're going out to get ice cream. We went out there, we got it, we came back home, everybody's happy. It was the end of a nice day. Okay, all those kinds of things are in the taste of that ice cream for me. All of us have things like that, okay? And we pull it up and we replay that memory, okay? We also do that with more complicated things, right? Especially in relationships. What we'll do is we'll pull up a complicated interaction we had with a guy who happened to be our dad. And so the guy says, "Hey, what are you doing? You've insulted me. You hurt my feelings. Why did you speak to me that way? My father only speaks to me that way, you bastard." The fuck did I do? I should ask you what the fuck you're doing, bitch. That happens. Okay, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't care what it is. Neither side needs to get all bent out of shape about it, right? It's a dumb thing. Change the motivational sign on it is nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Really, it doesn't. There's all kinds of those things that we replay from memory. All manners. Here's one. Can you collect the money? Can you ask for the check? Can you say to somebody, "Look, I've done this thing, pay me"? Ooh. See, that gets off into a replay that's kind of funky, doesn't it? Because sometimes you can ask for the check and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you think that person isn't going to like it. Sometimes you think that person's not going to think that you see the value that you see in it is what you see in it, right? There's all those kinds of things that you're going to replay has nothing at all to do with what they think. Nothing. It has to do with what you're replaying in your mind. We do that with all kinds of things, with relationships. Oh, damn. When we're driving, when we're playing sports, we're putting together jigsaw puzzles, watching television, when we're cooking, all kinds of things like that. We have all these replays that we do. The idea is this: can we do this thing like we've never done it before? Wouldn't that be fun? To do it new every time? To invent it right now as we go on every time? Wouldn't that be a fun thing to do? Wouldn't that be more fun than doing the same old boring thing all of the time? In couples, you say, okay, you say that like there's something other than the missionary position. Really, there is. You can do other things. That's also fun. In a relationship, it could be, look, you can do the dishes just like I can. Here's a broom. You know how to work it? Are you big enough to run this? You have a license? See, we don't think you need one. I think you just need to get the dirt off the floor. Here, show you can do it. See, that's a replay, right? Oh, he'll never do it. I know how he is. He's the same as my father. Well, you chose poorly. You didn't like your dad, so why would you like this guy here? Well, the fact of the matter is, you loved your dad, you love this guy the same, but you're gonna be pissy because mom was pissy with dad over the same damn things, and that's what you think is right, real. Okay, I don't care. If that's what you think is real. If you're happy with that, me too. I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but I'm happy that you got it all figured out like that. It's wonderful. Okay, nobody minds except you, because you're the one who decides this, not me, not anybody else. You have to decide. I can point out sillinesses, but whether right and wrong, yeah, there's no such thing. There's some things that are silly though. It's like not to hold on to a motivational sign just because you want to hold a grudge. Okay, that's pretty silly. I mean, maybe you're justified in it, but what the fuck for? It's only going to cost you. You're not going to make the other guy any different. It's just going to addle you all the time. You're going to divide your mind up, not that guy. I mean, if you think that cheating on you was that important, then why are you with the guy to begin with? You didn't like him. You didn't think he was going to stay with you, and he didn't think he was going to stay with you either. So neither one of you should be surprised. You both knew where it was going. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just okay. It was a wonderful afternoon. Okay, afternoon delight. The song says, right? I mean, who gives a damn? The point I'm trying to make with you, guys, is this: is look. The point that the thing is that so you have these replays. That doesn't mean you have to carry them with you all the time. You can do something original all the time. Every day when you get up in the morning, you can do something different. You may want to do the same thing. It's like in the morning, I really do like having my cup of coffee before I even try talking to people. One reason is it gives me a chance to wake up to understand whether I want to talk to people or not, or whether they will want to talk to me, perhaps. I may not be good company at that hour of the morning unless I've had several cups of coffee to wake up. Who knows? I mean, so I like to have the coffee to buy me some time. It gives me an excuse to say, I'm not ready to talk yet. In other words, I'm not awake. So leave me the fuck alone for a little bit here. Okay, now, what's on your mind? I'm ready to talk now, motherfucker. Tell me what's going on. It's true. Okay.
That's why we make sure you have a new pot in the morning.
That's right. Make another pot if we're going to need it. Okay, what else we got? Number 7.
Stored or filed occurrences, filed instructions, filed programs vary in the amount and the specificity of positive and or negative effect, feeling, emotion attached to each. If too negative, evil, harmful, fearful, an emotional charge is attached, replay can allow readjustment toward the positive end of the motivational feeling emotion spectrum. With the LSD-25 state, the negative or the positive charge can be changed to neutral or to its opposite by special instructions. However, since most people wish to avoid the negative and encourage the positive, once they obtain control over programming, they tend to put a positive charge even on programs and meta programs and the processes of creating them.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why, Angela, you were asking earlier. This is one of the reasons why people take a long time to work through programming itself. Okay, because once they realize that they can change programs, it becomes a reward unto itself. It's like patience. Patience rewards itself, right? Patience is its own reward. Programming is also its own reward, because if people say, "Wow, this is such a relief that I relieve myself of the anxiety over this particular program just by recognizing it and changing the memory about it a little bit, then let me do that again." So they start looking for all the places in their life where they can do that, even when they're done. Okay, or even when they need to move on to something else, they continue to do the same thing, right? Okay, and so they get caught on programming itself as a means to an end. Well, it is a means to an end, but the end in this particular case is specific function, or not specific function, but rather B1 function. Okay, what they're going to do is they're going to be at one with themselves. You understand what I mean by that? In other words, in other words, rather than dividing themselves up, saying, "Well, I go to mom's, I have to behave this way. I go to, I talk to dad, I can't say anything about mom, and because mom and dad still aren't talking to each other, and my brother Harry, he's with mom, and I try to be neutral." how many personalities we got right there? More than one, right? More than several, actually, there's a bunch. And so we all do that, okay? All of us do that. And we all have these different personalities for different people that we use, right? And so here's the thing. Once we begin straightening that stuff out, we start looking for all those places where it feels good to fix it. Even if there's nothing else left to fix. Even if we're done, even if we have to move on to being in harmony, even if we have to go back and revisit, but we have to have a broader understanding in order to fix the next step. We'll still try to fix the stuff without the understanding. And you'll hear people say, well, I'm working on that. The hell does that mean? It's, you're not working on anything. You're either done with it or you're not. If you're working on it, it means that you don't understand it. Is that what it means? If you're working on it, does that mean that you don't want to do it? Is that what it means? If you're working on it, does that mean that we'll get around to it when you get damn good and ready? Is that what working on it means? It isn't that because the computer doesn't work on it. It changes it. And the change is visible in a matter of minutes. So you make up your mind, and that's how things are for you. Are you right or wrong? There's not a right or wrong. Was it the best decision or not the best decision? It doesn't make any difference. It's the decision that you made. The whole computer made the decision, not consciousness. You didn't decide the motivational thing on this yet. Not until you have the experience, and then you can decide. Oh, I like that. Oh, I hate that. Oh, I got what I wanted. I didn't like it. Whatever. I don't give a damn whatever. You're going to go to that place and you're going to have that experience because you said that's what you wanted. So you're going to do it. Okay. That's fair. You with? Okay. What else we got there?
A chemical change may take place in signal storage as a sign of the motivational process shifts from negative to positive.
That's just a simple thing of a new synapse growing. Okay. That's actually a chemical change because there's a it's kind of like ready to eat meal kind of thing that goes down from the synapse until it gets to a certain place in the synapse, and then it grows a new arm around. Okay, it's a protein that sends out that instruction, and it's sent from a nucleus down the synapse to a certain point where it grows a new synapse. It's a fascinating thing that happens in the brain. Okay, self-meta program.
Definition of a general purpose self-meta program. The essential features and the goals sought in the self-analysis are in the meta program. Make the computer general purpose. In this sense, we mean that in the general purpose nature of the computer, there can be no display, no acting, nor an ideal, which is forbidden to a consciously willed meta program. Nor is any display, acting, or ideal made without being consciously meta programmed. In each case, of course, one is up against the limits of the unique computer, which is one's own. There are certain kinds of metaprograms, displays, acting, or ideals, which are beyond the capacity of a particular computer. However, one's imagined limits are sometimes smaller than those which one can achieve with special work. The metaprogram of the specific beliefs about the limits of one's own self are at stake here. One's ability to achieve certain special states of consciousness, for example, are generally pre-programmed by basic beliefs taken on in childhood. If the computer is to maintain its general purpose nature, which presumably was there in childhood, one must recapture a far greater range of phenomena that one expects that one has available. For instance, one should be able to program in practically any area possible within human imagination, human action, or human being.
Oh, this is one everybody likes to argue with. It doesn't make any difference if you want to, but it's still so. So let's look at this one with a little bit of clarity, okay? Here's the first part. What you're trying to be is a general purpose computer. That's what all of us are. that we have a general purpose building kit in the brain. That's how it's designed. It's a general purpose computer. So that means that it can, anything that it can focus on, it can do within the limits of that it runs into it, physically, monetarily, whatever. Okay, whatever its limits are. A general purpose computer is what we're trying to accomplish here, because the general purpose computer means that if we look at something, if we say, all right, I want to learn to play music. If you put in that time, you'll learn to play music. Okay, you got to put in the time and the effort to learn to play. They usually say 20,000 hours. Okay, but if you practice for 20,000 hours, you're gonna be pretty damn good at whatever you play. You can understand music because you have to play all the stuff. Well, you have to think about it, in other words. The same thing could be true for being a race car driver or a motorcycle jumper. If you start early up in life, you learn how to do it easily. Okay, but if you have an interest to do it, then you're going to learn how to do the thing. People can do that with writing, with drawing, with all kinds of stuff. Okay, but the idea is that you want to be a general purpose computer. Now, there are certain kinds of certain kinds of things that a person can or cannot do. Okay, in other words, there are people that, for instance, I'm just not a good candidate for basketball. Okay, I'm just not tall enough, nor am I black. Okay, I'm not a good basketball player candidate. I'm just not. Okay, I might be a good golfer kind of person, maybe. But every time I tried to hit the golf ball, it went out there and it went over that way for a long ways. And I never figured out why it did that. Nobody else's golf ball did that, just mine. So I thought I was doing something wrong. They said I was, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So I quit doing that because that wasn't where the ball was supposed to go. It was supposed to go over there. It went over there instead. I don't know why. I'm not a good baseball guy either. I'm not that coordinatedly quick on going to this side or that side, or I can't stretch out that far to play first base. I can't throw that far if I'm on the outfield. So my best position in baseball is in the stands. You know, yay, our team! I do that pretty well. Okay, that's a good position for me in baseball. Okay. Same with football. That looks physical to me. Now chess is something else. I like to play chess with you. That's not that physical, but you got to think about it. So yeah, I kind of like that. So you see, what I'm trying to get you to see is that there are certain people who can do one thing and certain people who can do something else. There are people that jump off of mountains and with nothing on except this squirrel suit, and they fly off to some place and they land. Those are crazy people. Okay, I'm not that crazy. I really don't need that much adrenaline in my system ever. I can wake up without that much adrenaline. The same thing when people jump off of the side of buildings, they fall and then they pull the string on the parachute at the very last moment and they go pop. Wow, that's ballsy. And I applaud those guys that don't plop on the sidewalk. The ones that plop they're losers. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's true. They have a big L implanted in their forehead from that time on. Yeah. So you see, there are certain things that people can do. I'm not one of those kinds of people. Okay, I can't do it. However, I know a lot of people can't do what I do. They have no concept of how to do it or anything else, and I don't blame them. Just like the guy that jumps off the building, he doesn't blame me for not doing it because you got to learn a lot of stuff to do that. I don't know anything about the stuff. Why in the hell would you want to jump off a building just to prove something what for? Why not take the elevator? It's easier. Okay, there are people that can't take the elevator apparently. They got a squirrel fly off of the building. Okay, I'm good with that. Why don't they should do that really? Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, okay.
As explorations
No,
deep.
wait, I'm not done yet. Okay, look, the state of mind to change these things are pre-programmed in childhood. In other words, we all write metaprograms as children. We have to, or we don't become adults. Okay, in other words, we have to be able to control sets of programs to become adults. All right, We have to learn how to do handwriting. Okay, we have to learn how to read. We have to learn how to do calculations and with arithmetic with numbers. We have to learn what thought is. We have to learn how to do drawings and interactions. We have to learn about what a government is and those kinds of things, right? Okay, and so there's all these things we have to learn as children. But all of these are meta programs that we learn, and we learn how to manage sets of programs from that. But that state that we have to learn it from is pre-programmed in childhood. We write that we set that state up when we're kids. How do we learn things? Do we learn things because we want to? Do they have to make us to learn it? Do we learn things because we enjoy it? Do we learn things because again we have to, because we're shamed into it? There's all kinds of things that state could be. Okay, but that state exists, so we can adjust it when we get old enough to look back and say, well, that's dumb. They couldn't make me do it anyway. I did it because I wanted to in the long run. If I did it, it's because I wanted to, even though they said I had to. I still wanted to do it. That's really a real thing that we have to address somewhere in our lives, because we grow up, we become adults. Okay. What Lily's trying to say here is this: he's saying, the limits of the limits of the parameter that limits each cell of the meta program isn't limited as much as what we think it is. They're artificial limits. They're limits that mom said we had to have. It's like if you're going to wear underwear with the day on it, wear it for the right day. If you have to take off everything except the underwear that you don't want to be wearing Saturday's underwear on Tuesday morning still, it's gonna look bad. You just don't want to do that. See, that's something that mom tells us, right? Don't let your nipples show. Everybody tells you that, right? And so you don't ever do that because you're being embarrassed, right? But you like your nipples to show too. See, it depends on what's going on. That's true for everybody. Okay, it doesn't a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's part of the human anatomy, and you got to come to grips with that for you. What does that mean for you? Who cares what it means for you? But whatever it means, you need to grasp that and hug it up to you, because that's what melts your butter. You need to understand that part. You need to look at those things and say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. Even down to those things. They're important to you. Why cut off your nose to spite your face? Why say, no, I can't look at those things? Sure you can. I know mom said not to. I know dad said not to. I know society may have said not to. The church certainly said not to. But you know what? There they are, sticking out, right? What do you do with that? Deny it? Well, that doesn't make good sense, does it? Because there they are. Okay. The same thing is true for guys. The same thing is true for girls. The same thing is true for all kinds of places. There are parts there are real things that actually happen that we have to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge it. Okay, it doesn't mean that we have to do it. Doesn't mean we have to flaunt it. None of that kind of thing. We simply have to acknowledge it. We have to say, okay, that's there. Yes, I enjoy that. No, I don't enjoy that. This is the reason. That's the reason. Whatever. Doesn't make any difference. But as long as you know why you're doing whatever it is that why you're doing or not doing whatever you're doing, that's the important part. Not that you're following the rules. Not that you're being a good girl or a bad girl or a good boy or a bad boy or any of those kinds of things. All it means is that you're finding out why you're doing what you're doing. For instance, with your dad couldn't do what you do. He just couldn't do that. He couldn't go there. That would have been too chaotic for him. Fair enough? Okay. So it isn't chaotic for you. It works for you. That's great. Is it bad because he couldn't do it? No. It isn't. It's just a thing. Okay. Good. Okay, what's next there, Lucy?
As explorations deepen, one can see the evading nature of many programs which one previously considered basic to one's private and professional philosophy. As one opens up the depths, it is wise not to privately publicly espouse as the ultimate any truths one finds in the following areas: the universe in general, beings not human, thought transference, life after death, transmigration of souls, racial memories, species jumping thinking, non-physical action at a distance, and so forth. Such ideas may merely be a reflection of one's needs in terms of one's own survival. Ruthless self-analysis as to one's needs for certain kinds of ideas in these areas must be explored honestly and truthfully. The rewarding and positively reinforcing effects of LSD 25 must be remembered and emphasized. One overvalues the results of one's chemically rewarding thinking.
Well, isn't this a kick in the butt? You know, all those things we were talking about that were taboo just a moment ago, the things that you can't do, all those things. Have you ever considered them to all be evasions? I mean, just stop and think about it, that you don't do this thing so you can evade something. That's the reason why you need to stop and look at it, right? Is to see, is this something I'm doing because I don't want to look at something else? And quite often we find those things that are just innocent as they can be, but they hide something else that's deeper inside of us, right? It doesn't mean that we're right or wrong about it. It just means that we're hiding from ourselves. Okay, that's all. Is not, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's normal for us to do that. That's a normal behavior for us. We don't like looking at things we do wrong. No more than the puppy likes to see where he peed in the floor. Okay, we're the same as the puppy. Okay, we don't like to see that. We refuse to look at it. It doesn't mean that we're bad people or that we're good people. It means that we're normal people. That's what we do. It actually takes a good deal of discipline to get to the place where you can say, okay, you know what? I can look at where I peed in the floor. Only adults can do that. Okay. Only adults. Children can't do it. They're puppies. They can't look at what they did on the floor. They just can't do that. Now, we have a lot of those evading programs left over from childhood. Okay, here's one that everybody knows, right? You're in a relationship for overnight, or a couple of days, or a week, or 2 weeks, and comes the eventful moment where somebody says, "So, why do you do that thing that you do?" And what's the answer going to be? I don't do that thing. Why are you telling me I do that thing? You nasty, dastardly person, you! You said I did a thing I don't do. I just saw you do it. No, you didn't. That wasn't me. That wasn't what I did. It was something else. It wasn't that. You didn't understand. I need to talk here. Will you let me talk? Come on. You've never said that. Oh, your nose is going to grow if you say that. Pammy said that though. Okay, look, folks, we all say that. And we all deny that thing that we do. All of us, because we can't look at it. When somebody says we're doing something, it takes a grown person to stop and say, really? Okay. Let me stop and look at what you're saying. Where am I doing it? Okay, how am I doing it? Ah, you're right, I'm doing that. I didn't see it that way, but okay. No, I'm not going to argue with you. It's fine. That's what an adult does. Children can't do that. They just can't. So when we go on to something else a little bit more complex, and we start saying, okay, let's look at something like, what does the spirit mean to you? Okay, what's the soul to you? And I always get these kind of answers. Well, my soul spoke to me about this thing, and it's like I always thought the visual I always get is some guy with a leash walking his soul out to the soul park to make the soul business out there in the park. But that's crazy shit. Nobody has a leash on their soul. You don't own a soul. You either are one or the soul expresses through you, but you don't own one. You don't have a soul that you can claim as your soul. That doesn't exist. Well, where is it then? You have a soul box that you keep it in? You feed it pretty regularly, do you? What do you feed it?
Soul
Soul food, yeah. Of course, that's what you would feed it, right? And so you guys all like chitlins, right? You know what chitlins are? Chitlins. It's soul food. What it is it's cow's guts that have been fried, essentially. Chitlins. Ooh, and okra, fried okra. So, oh yeah, you bet meatloaf. And barbecue chicken. Don't forget fried chicken, actually, but it can be barbecue, but it needs to be fried, really. Deep fat fried for hours. So the chicken has enough fat in it, you know, it doesn't have enough as it is. What's more in it? It gotta be that crispy golden brown fat that's on the skin, so you can bite it, right? So the thing is that we all have these things in our mind where we say to ourselves, okay, our soul is telling us about that we were something else in another life, or the soul is transfers from this lifetime to the next lifetime, or we say after death I'm going to return as a child, or that we say you know, I can do, if I think about this right here, I can stop the rain over there. Shamanic studies person over there, they claim stuff like that. What you guys do? You made it rain or something? What did you do?
Oh, we transmuted pollutants in water at the distance.
At a distance. Show me.
Wow.
I mean now? Yeah, show me. I want to see it. Yeah, what's the distance? You know, do you have a direction? I don't see it. She was pissed at me for 3 years. Wouldn't talk to me. That was before I took her animals away. I wanted to see those power animals too. I never saw those.
The man is so rooted in reality.
He just won't quit. He keeps saying the same thing. Is it real? Is it real? Is it real? Okay, it doesn't make any difference what your drug of choice is. It's fucked up. Whatever you're seeing on your drug of choice is not reality. It's askew somewhere. I don't care if it's alcohol. I don't care what you're taking. I don't care how much fun it was. I don't care whether your soul spoke to you or not. I don't care whether you visited other places in the world. I don't care whether the crocodiles came out of the water and spoke words of wisdom to you. I don't care whether when you took it your nose poured like the Niagara Falls. I don't give a damn what it was that you took and what the effects were. None of it was real. It all happened in your head. All of it. It all happened in your head. And not a bitch. It couldn't have happened outside of your head. You're the one that perceived it. But what if I perceive it again? Well, I don't know. What happens if you perceive it again, you dummy? You tell me. You know, this is where I always like the story, but because it's the truth. You know, there's two people sitting in a room back in the 70s sometime, right? And one of them say, "Oh, the walls are melting," and those, "Oh, far out." Yeah, which vision was real? Neither one of them. The walls were still right there. Neither one of them were seeing the walls melting. That's goofy stuff, right? What was going on was something that they were perceiving from in their mind. Why were they perceiving it that way? Well, now that's a question, isn't it? See, that's an important question for you about anything at all that you do, no matter what it is. You know, why are you doing it? Why do you have to perceive the world that way? Is it right or wrong? No, it's not. It's a matter of, do you know why? That's it. Nothing else. You know why you're doing this thing? If you do, great. If you don't, find out. Hell, look, keep looking. Go float. Find out what it is. What else we got there, kid? I'm sorry, Sri, you speak so softly, I can barely hear you ever. So this time you guys speak up more.
So I said if we can analyze something, but we don't know why we do that, so we write something.
Well, see, the thing is that we do know why we do it. And there's a point where it started, okay? Everything has a start point. When you're born, we don't do any of those things, right? So we learn how to do them. Okay. This week there was this guy that was trying, I think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene actually, trying to say that racism is learned. Well, yes, it is, Marjorie. When did you learn it? Well, I didn't learn it. I'm just racist, but I'm not really racist because I love black people. I have some of my best friends are black. Of course she's racist. Not because she has best friends that are black, but because she's racist. That's reality of it. That's her claim to fame. That's her way of that's the way she's going to get votes, she thinks. Okay, not for black people, but she thinks she's going to get it somewhere. Okay. Now, does that make her right or wrong? Neither one. It just makes her, well, it makes her goofy. But when did she learn it is the part, okay? I don't know when, but she learned it because she wasn't born racist. She had to learn. The same thing for anything any of us do. There's a point where we started it. And that's what a rewrite's really about, is going back to finding one of those things, going back to it and rewriting that thing so it doesn't bother us. So that thing doesn't bother us. We're done with that thing, that whatever that is. And once you do that, it's like we're talking about before. That's a positive reinforcement. And you tend to go back and start rewriting things all over the place once you start on that process. But you got to go through it once. And it's like being pulled through a knothole backwards. It's not fun the first time through. Well, it can be. Some people it's for fun. Other people just struggle with it forever. As Carmen struggled with it for 2.5, 3 years or something. She took a while, but she got it. She got it done. But she kept on it, kept on until she did it. At least took what, 6, 7 months.
Yeah.
David took a month, I think. I mean, it's a variable idea. Everybody does it differently. But going back and finding one of those things, you really need a guide the first time. Okay. After that, you can do it yourself. But you need somebody to stop you because you're going to run into all your evasions, right? That's what you're going to run into. You're going to run into all the places that you evade stuff. You're going to say, well, my goal is this. You say, well, that's not a goal. Well, why not? Because it's not a goal. How do you define a goal? It's like, well, that doesn't have that thing you're saying doesn't have any of those parts to it. Oh, shit. Well, what would be a goal? I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to go? Well, what's the means of that? Well, I got to go over there first to go do one of those. No, it isn't. You got to do that thing. You got to bring that thing in. That's the means. What's your charisma? Let's go at it then. This charisma thing over here, what is that? Well, I don't know. The people can just go fuck themselves as far as I'm concerned. I don't really have to kiss anybody's ass. Nobody can tell me what to do. Well, that's a great charisma. Think you can get an agreement there? I don't. You want to revise that? Maybe you want to state that position differently, maybe so it works better. People can go through months at a time doing that. I know somebody that went through that on arrogance, that went through several months to get through it, to find a place where you could say, okay, yep, I was arrogant, and you know what, I've got to change that. That's a hard thing to do because you can't see it. You're busy being arrogant. You can't see it when you're doing it. You just can't. That's all of us are that place. Okay. What else we got over there, kid?
Once one has done such deep analysis, one later finds deeper these needs were generating these ideas. One's public need to proclaim them to oneself and to others as if they were the ultimate truth is an expression of one's need to believe. Insight into the fact that one is enthused because a positive, start and maintain rewarding sign has been chemically stamped on these ideas must be remembered.
Yeah. You know, we all have this thing that Lily refers to here as childish baggage, okay? It's things that we picked up as a goofy thing. My sister has one, okay? When she was about 1.5, 2 years old, my dad would come in for lunch every afternoon, and he liked to have a piece of bread with butter on it. And he always held it in his hand like this, right? Still right now today, if you take your hand like that and you put it in front of my sister's mouth, she'll bite right in there. Still right now today, okay? Because when she was a little kid, my dad would go like that and give her a bite of his buttered bread all the time. He fed her every day at lunch. He'd give her a bite of that. We all laugh about it still. You know, in fact, the last time I saw her, I said, "Hey, Ellen, how you doing?" Because it's something from childhood that's just there, right? We all have that. Sometimes it's good stuff, and sometimes it's stupid stuff, and sometimes it's just baggage, just stuff we're dragging along for what reason. It could be all kinds of things. It could be the rules that mom and dad said that we had to be, how we had to behave as children. It can be the rules that we thought we had to follow as religious entities. There's a whole set of right and wrong things that we have to follow. There's a whole things of good and bad things we have to follow. And it's like we get lost in all those things and not knowing why we're doing it. They're just things we brought along with us. And if we've never examined them, then they're heavy. They weigh us down. It's kind of like walking out of the Grand Canyon with a full canteen of water. By the time you get about halfway out, you realize you're not going to need all that water to get to the top of the rim. So you pour half of it out. Okay, because that's if you hike enough, you're gonna take your toothbrush and you're gonna break off that end because you don't need that really to brush your teeth. The handle, that's just extra weight you don't need to carry. You'll reduce what you're carrying around with you if you do a lot of hiking. You reduce it down to just the essential things that you need for you to be comfortable. You'll do that. Everybody does. Okay. And so the thing is that where we don't do that is with our thoughts, because we never we never take it out and say, well, do I really need this thing or not? We don't have a motivation to do so. Okay. Because everybody around us says the same thing, the same way, etc. And so moving away from home always has that effect on us. We have to behave differently. We have to not do things that we did when we were home. Okay, even if it's moving out of home and into our own apartment, it does the same thing, because all of a sudden we have to set up our own rules. We have to live our own life then. Okay, and so everybody goes through that getting kicked out of the nest thing. Okay, and part of that getting kicked out of the nest is this whole idea of we have to believe something. We have to make up something that we think is real. Okay, for instance, think about this one for a second. There's a whole group of people in the United States that are called QAnon theorists. Okay, and there's nothing real about any of this, but they're grown-ass people, they're grown adult people who are saying stupid things like there's a worldwide cabal of pedophiles, blood-drinking pedophiles that run the world. What a stupid fucking thing to say. But nonetheless, there are people that are saying that and people that believe it's true. Okay, and they're pretty sure that thing represents a deep state. Again, it's a fantasy. It's not something that's actually real. Not the way they're talking about it. Does it exist? Yeah, but not the way they're talking about it. A deep state has to exist because that's the government. That's the government. How the government works. Okay, here in Mexico, there's a deep state, and who is it? It's the secretaries and the clerks that are down at the municipal offices that do all the things, right? They're there year after year after year. No matter what administration, they're either working this municipal or the next one over, or right. Come on, you guys know this. And that they make a career out of doing that, right? They're the deep state. They're the people who that they know what the rules are, then how it's up. They know where the files are. They're absolutely invaluable to running the government. They have to be there. But they're the ones that actually run the government, not whoever's elected. The only thing the person that's elected does is kind of tell them, can we point that gun over that direction for a while? They're the ones that shoot the gun, though. They're in essence the Mexican deep state. There's one in every country, got to be. Okay, but it's not nefarious. It's just the way things are. Any company has that. Go to a grocery store. There's a deep state working within the grocery store about who's who and who does what and who does what time and whether or not it's done well and what stuff is ordered. all kinds of things. But it's the policy or the political nature of any organization. And the bigger the organization, the deeper the organization has to be. That's the way it works. Okay, so what else we got there?
An explorer operating at these depths cannot afford such childish baggage.
Let me finish this stuff up here just a little bit more. The reason I'm bringing that up is this, is that the people believe that thing to be true. They believe that deep state is a nefarious idea. It isn't, but that doesn't mean they don't believe it. Okay? It isn't an actual real thing. It's just something they believe is true. We all have those kinds of beliefs in our minds. Things that may or may not be true. And unless we pull them out and look at them, we don't know what they are. And that's what we're really talking about here. Then in terms of a general purpose computer, we have to know what we believe and what we don't believe, and why we believe it and why we don't believe it. That's also stated this way. That's one way to state it. Here's another way of stating the same thing. You have to know how you know what you know. Okay, I can tell you the 3 steps to knowing it, that might help you here, but it may not, but I'll tell you anyway. Okay, there are 3 parts to knowing. There's a fountain of this knowledge. There's a source of the knowledge. There's the experience itself for you personally. And then there's somebody coming along saying, yeah, I had that same experience. Whenever you have those 3 parts in something, your brain's going to take that thing as knowledge. It will treat that thing as knowledge, no matter what it is. Like for instance, if you're selling a house, for instance, right? People can say, here, this is how you do it. This is what you do. This is what you do. And you got to do this, and you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And the first time you do it, you say, the fuck, that's impossible. How did I get to there? And the next time you do it, say, oh yeah, I see. And the third time you do it, say, yeah, hey, I got this down. The fourth time you do it, say, watch me, what I'm spoken. Watch out. Touch me, I'm hot. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, because that's how we learn stuff. Okay, that's how we go through learning things, because we know how we know. Okay, we can't treat that as knowledge unless we have all three of those parts. That's for anything at all that's going on. Anything at all that's going on. That's how we know things. So if we want to fill in knowledge, what do we do? We want to ask somebody who knows about it, see if we can have that experience, or whether we can reference that experience in our lives already, and then check with somebody else if that's how they experienced it. That way we can add to our knowledge. Because then we can say, okay, I know this because that person over there that I trust or I believe in had that experience, and I tried it and I had the same experience. And so somebody else did it and they had that same experience. It's called scientific method, another terminology as well, because you have to have peer review of what you do in science, right? It's the same idea. You want to know from other people whether or not what you're looking at, what you're doing is actually a real thing, or whether it's a made up thing. You just want to know that. I do, because there's times in my life where I know that I've dealt with made up things, and there are times in my life where I know that I've dealt with real things, and they could both be taking place at the same time, and I wasn't aware of either one of them. When I got older and wiser, or older and smarter, or at least older, I began to look at it because I didn't want to repeat myself as much, I guess. So I had to learn how to learn how to do that differently. Okay. All right. Those are things that we believe to be true, guys. Okay. And you have to think about that. This in the general purpose computer, you can believe anything. There's no limits to what you can believe. And the thing is that what you believe either is true or becomes true for you. Doesn't make it real. It's only true. Okay, so somebody who's believing in a QAnon theory of worldwide cabal of pedophile, blood drinking pedophiles, if you tell yourself that often enough, you'll believe it's true, and it will become true for you, and you'll act on it that way. It doesn't mean that it's real. It means that you'll act on it. That's all. It's true for you. So you have to be careful about what you think you believe is true. It's necessary, otherwise they'll bite you in the hind knee. Okay, what else we got?
An explorer operating at these depths cannot afford such childish baggage. These are disguises of and evasions of the ultimate dissolution of the self. the maintenance of pleasure and of life are insisting on denial of death. If one stops at these beliefs, no progress in further analysis can be made. These beliefs are analysis dissolvers. One might call these lazy assumptions, which prevent one from pushing deeper into self and avoid expending any great effort in this deeper direction. One of these very powerful evasions is a hedonistic acceptance of things as they are, with conversion of most of them to a pleasant glow. Another similar evasion is deferring discussion of such basic issues until one's life after death.
Yeah. One of the best things that I mean really often is you hear people say, I don't believe in that shit. If you ask them about what that shit is, they can never tell you. Because if they tell you, they have to believe in it. They have to come to a place where they come to grips with the reality of that thing that they're saying they don't believe in, right? One that's popular in the United States right now is the idea of systemic racism. Do you understand what that means? It means that in the system itself is made so that it's a racist system. That's why white cops kill black men, because the racism is built into the system itself. Black men are going to be doing bad things in a cop's mind, so he kills him, whether he's doing anything bad or not. It's the systemic racism lives in the cop culture. Okay, it's there. It's like here in Mexico, something that lives in the cop culture is a little propino, little cooperation, little help here on the side. Okay, no, I won't charge you the fine if you pay me the fine. That exists in all cops. The bigger the crime, the more open they are to payoff. That has been the case in Mexico. It's changing, but that's part of the police culture in Mexico, from transitos all the way through the federales. That culture exists. Okay. Now, is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's neither one. It's another system. In other words, the graft is part of the system here. I knew a police captain in Tijuana. And he's an interesting dude, but he would go down to a shoe store, send his wife down to the shoe store and say, and he'd go into the shoe store and say, I've got 5 kids and they need to go to school with new shoes. And the person in the store would give him the shoes. Okay. Now, was that wrong? I don't know. At the time he was making $400, 400 pesos a month. Or a month, I think. He couldn't afford shoes. Now, do you guys want to have my protection here? Then you got to help me out. And that's what that was the actual bargain that they made. Now he took advantage of it, because I went with him to a bar one night, and he never said anything. He just went like that. And when we got back in the van, there was a bottle of tequila out there, the very finest there is. It's laying on the dashboard of his truck. Okay. Now, also that same night, some girl came up behind me and started rubbing her boobies all over me and said, did I want to go? And I said, no, thanks, but I appreciate the offer. But Chris looked at me and said, it's not going to cost you. I said, I got it, because I'd seen him in operation. I knew how he was, right? But that same night, he arrested a kid that had a rope, like a 1-inch rope, and this kid had put nails through the rope. I mean, like nails, okay? And he was in a bar swinging that damn thing around, because he's a little short motherfucker. He was only like, he wasn't as tall as she is. He was short, but that was his equalizer, right? And so they arrested him because it was a lethal weapon that he had, and they used slinging around. And the cop I was with Chris when Chris took him in, the cop that was with him had him by the hair like this, because the guy was just out of it. Now, that's what Chris did all night, is he dealt with stuff like that. Worthwhile society? Absolutely. Was Chris really straight about it? In no way. Absolutely not. No, there's no way he's straight about it. Did he do a good job? Oh, fucking A. the man was on top of things. He paid attention. One time I went with him to what's her name? The body of, what's her name? The singer, the feminist singer, what's her name? No. What's it? I want to say Paco de Barrio, but that's not it. It's not. Huh? Yeah, Paquita de Barrio. Okay, yeah, okay. I went to a concert with him when she was singing, right? And there were some Mexican kids next to me that took offense to the gringo being there at the bar, right? So I got up to go to the bathroom, and 3 of his guys got up and followed me. Because when those guys got in the bathroom, they didn't beat up on the gringo. They didn't know that who I was with. They kind of took those guys out. And I just say that in a funny way. But that's what Chris did. That's how he was, okay? Now, is he right or wrong? Is he good or bad? Neither one. The culture that he lived in, though, fought this stuff all of the time. And what he thought was wrong was wrong. But what he thought was right could be wrong too, because that's part of the culture that he had to live in. He had to figure out a way to make a living to do what he did. Now, the problem is in the system, you see. So when you're thinking about these ideas, you have to consider, what is it that you're going to do with the idea? What is it you're going to do with this abstraction? Because this is not something that you can touch. You just can't. How do you touch a program? You can see its result. You can feel its results. You can experience its result, but you can't touch it. I can see it in action, but I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you how it's written. I say, are you doing this thing? Why do you do that? But I can't tell you why. But can I see it? Oh yeah, I can see it. It's right there in front of God and everybody. We wear it right out there on our sleeves, right? And so the thing is if we put an emotional charge on those behaviors, we have to stop and figure out, why are we putting that charge on it? Why do we have that action or reaction to that thing? Will we see it in somebody else? Why did that person saying that thing make us mad, really? Really, did it hurt us somewhere? Really, did it hurt? Or did we just get pissed off because they had the audacity to say that thing we don't want to look at? Both things can be true, right? Both things can be true at the same time. They could be saying something that they really see us doing, and we can say they're being hurtful because they don't understand us, and we have 1,000 reactions, right? But the fact of the matter is, the truth is in the context of what's really going on, and we need to pay attention to that. What else we got there, Elise?
A possible great spur to work in this area for certain kinds of persons is the acceptance of unknowables and of the unknown itself. A powerful wish to push into the unknown further than those ahead of one in a calendar time is helpful in terms of one's motivation at this point. Everyone has to say about the truth in this area. Many other persons would like very much to have one follow their meta programs. In my own view, I would prefer to be a questing mind reporting on some interesting journeys. Insofar as I fail to be this, I too am guilty of attempting to metaprogram the reader.
One of the things that we really try to do in the tank office is we try not to leave a track. Okay, that's something that I push on people about. In other words, I don't want to influence anybody any more than I'm going to, any more than is absolutely necessary about any kind of thinking. Because in the long run, they have to do what they have to do, not what I want them to do. So I can't really write a meta program or even ask somebody to follow my meta programs. I can say, look, these are meta programs. They work for me. If you want to use them, use them. If you don't want to use them, well, fuck, I wouldn't use them either if I were you. Okay, both things can be true. Okay, and from my own perspective, I don't want to leave a track on anybody's thinking. I want they're thinking because they think, not because I told them to think it, or not because I'm leading them to think it, or not because I'm suggesting that they think it. And if they use any of those excuses, those are called evasions, because I'm doing everything I can to keep from doing that. I don't want to influence your thinking. I want you to think, but I don't want to tell you how to think about it. I want to influence you to think about it. I want you to influence it, to examine it, to explore it. But how to come up with it? I don't want to do that. I want to ask you about some silly things that we all do, so that so you get examples of those silly things, and you know, okay, I don't want to repeat the silly thing. I want to do whatever it is I do. But it's okay for you to explore what you do. That's fine. And there's no reason for me to try to tell you what to do or anything else, because you're going to end up doing what you want anyway. The general rule is this: nobody does anything they don't want to. Nobody does anything they don't want to do. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. Period. If they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. Period. But nobody does anything they don't want to do. So you got to remember that. Are you doing something? It's because you want to do it. I don't want to do that, but I always, yeah, don't tell me that you don't want to do it. You're doing it. So yes, you do want to do it. So that's fine. Okay. Look, there's no way that I don't affect you though in terms of meta programming. Okay, because I have slants on these things, but I can warn you that they're there, and I can warn you to look for them, look out for yourself, not to listen to what I'm telling you about how to do things. If you ask me about something, I can tell you how I do it. I can't tell you how you do it. I can tell you how I've seen other people do it, but I can't tell you how you do it either. Okay, I can't even tell you how they do it. I can only tell you what they do, and from that you can learn probably. Okay, I hope. If you do, that's great. We call that time binding. If you don't, we don't, and we say, oh, that was a fuck up. Time binding or a fuck up. That's the two options in my world. Okay. Okay. What else we got, Miss Elise? In summary, then one starts to wow. This is heavy duty shit.
In summary, then one starts on the deeper journeys independently, meta-program properly, and relatively safe, but without evasions. After having been through some of the innermost depths of self, the result is that they are only one's own beliefs and their multitudes of randomized logical consequences deep down inside one's cells. There's nothing else but stored experience.
Yeah, that one's kind of one of those things that we get to and we say, well, is that all there is? Yeah, that's all there is stored experiences. Isn't that wonderful? We have all these stored experiences and we do all kinds of things with them. Okay. Because there are literally thousands upon thousands of ways that an iPhone can be used. And if an iPhone can be used in all those different ways, think of how many different ways a brain can be used. Because a brain is much more general purpose and much more powerful than an iPhone or an iPad or even your handy dandy Mac. You have a brain that's more complicated and more powerful and bigger than that. It does tricks that the Mac can't do. It does tricks that your iPhone can't do. It does amazing tricks like programming itself. Okay, that's an amazing trick, but that's what we do. So when we get to that place where we can say, okay, I'm pretty much comfortable with who I am and what I'm about and what my programs are, then in reality, we kind of start a new life from there. Okay, it's a turning point for us because we get to the place where we say, okay, you know, I've been going in this general direction, but and I haven't been. I've actually been going in that direction over there, but I've been looking out the window over here where I thought I wanted to go, and I never get there because I'm really going in this other direction. Fuck, I'm gonna quit looking out this window and look out the front window here, see where it is I'm actually going. I probably won't crash as much or burn as much if I do that. And we get to a place where we actually accept who and what we are. We accept it. We say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm about. It's not a night to morning idea. It kind of sneaks up on us like Christmas. It comes along until finally one day there it is. You get up in the morning and Santa Claus has been there and he ate all the milk and cookies. He left you coal and whisk switches, or he left you what it was you wanted for Christmas. I don't know which one it is, but it depends on whether you're a good girl or bad girl or whatever, right? But that's what happens to all of us. And so the thing is that we have to understand that in terms of our experiences, not in terms of what actually happens. Because our experiences paint it the color that it is. We get to change that color anytime we want to. And we get to experience a new color too if we want to do that. We don't have to keep it all glum and glory and ugly. We don't have to keep it all unicorns and bluebirds of happiness either. Like in the diet class, one of the things we talked about is that, you know, to be hopelessly in love with spring is stupid. You know, you got to like all the seasons, not just spring. You know, you don't want to just be in love with spring all the time. You know, the winter's a good time, fall's a good time, summer's a good time, spring's nice. You know, we like spring. Everybody likes spring. It's after winter, and so it's nice. It's coming out of winter. It's cold, and now it's not cold. It's springtime. Woo! It's fun. There's flowers and trees blooming, and oh, it's fun time. Bees are buzzing, and birds are singing, and wow, we haven't heard that in several months. So spring's fun. So is summer. So we don't want to be hopelessly in love with spring. We want to enjoy the entire year. That's the same kind of idea here. Why limit ourselves to the things that we say that we want? Why not look at some of the, like the song says, good times, bad times. Give me some of that. That's what life is. It's all of it. And so we want to enjoy all of it, right? That's what the song's all about. Good times and bad times. And you know what? That's life. I want to have that. Yes, I do. You know, you got to have the good with the bad with the ugly. I mean, look, I've got Elise and Luca and Vince right here. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You got it all right here. Exactly. Okay, what else we got there?
To claim validity of details beyond myself is not my aim. There probably are those men who are prepared well enough to attempt reproducing what has been done. Here in themselves. The descriptions are given so that the sources of the human computer theory are available to professionals.
Yeah, I kind of understand what Lily's talking about. You know, this is an area where there are no fixed and firm answers. There are things that we have to assume to be true simply because we don't have any choices in it. We have to assume them to be true. There are things that we know to be true about the brain, about the thinking and so forth. And part of them we know how to apply it. We don't know everything there is to know about it though. We just don't know. Even the part that we're talking about here is revolutionary in terms of how we think about things, because we tend not to identify that as carefully as we wish. We tend to gloss over it, or to say it too quickly, or to try to say it without it bothering us somehow or the other. We try to use all of our evasions and everything else that goes with it, right? That's what we try to do. It's neither here nor there, or good or bad. It's just what we try to do. Now, I'm sure that there will be, if there's not already, minds that could be able to take all this information that I'm talking to you guys about and do something else with it that I'm doing. So I think that's a good idea. I think that you're going to do something other than what I do with it. I think that's great. I think that's the whole idea of studying this information, is to see what you can do with it. It's like everybody learns music, right? If you're a musician, you're going to learn how to play a piano or guitar or a trumpet or a trombone or a saxophone or something. You're going to play violin, maybe. You're going to learn how to play music, right? And in order to do that, there are certain things that you have to learn how to do. You have to learn music theory. You have to know what scales are. You have to know what chords go with what chords. You need to go what chords change to what chords. You need to know what a resolution is. There's all kinds of things like that you need to do and they need to understand, okay, to play music. But nobody plays the same music. They all play different things. You can hear different guitarists play, and you can say, I know who that is because of how they play it. Say, oh yeah, anybody here's Carlos Santana? I don't care what he's playing. You say, that's Carlos Santana. Damn, that's new music your boy's playing. You know it right away, right? Okay, the same thing is true for Joe Pass or Sting or Eric Clapton or somebody like that. You when they play, you say, oh, who else can play like that? Only those people. And so you have that marked, right? That's because they've taken all the music theory and they've taken and applied it to what they call music. Okay, we do the same thing with program theory. Everybody learns program theory, and then what they do with it is to make their music or their programming how they see fit. That's what we do with it. It's the same as with music. Okay, you learn the theory, you learn how it all goes together. That's the theory of it, how it fits together, and you say, okay, now I can do whatever I need. There are people who don't need to understand the theory. There's that little girl in England. What's her name? Alma Douche or something, Duschenbroth or something. I can't remember her name. At 12, she had already written a piano concerto, a violin concerto, and a frickin' opera. You're kidding me. At 12, Yep, she's done that. Yep. And now that she sang it, she played the violin, she played the piano, she composed it. When they did an interview with her, they gave her 4 notes, and she made a concerto out. She made a classical piece out of the 4 notes. Took the 4 notes, said, okay, great. Yeah, I can do that. Made a tune out of it, played all the harmony, everything in front of it, and right in front of God and everybody. Took her about 2 minutes to do it. Come on. How do you do that? You know, it's a 12-year-old kid, right? For her, music is like that. Okay, she understands the theory of it because that's how her head works. Okay, our head does the same thing. We all understand the theory of programming because that's what we all do that. She'd understand it probably more quicker than what a lot of other people would because she already does it. And she already understands that programming works because she takes advantage of it. I don't know how, but she's an amazing girl anyway. Go ahead. Yeah.
Like in music, you can learn theory, but to know how to express it, it's like practice and practice. It's the same with this.
Well, let's put it this way.
Something.
For you to play music, you have to have an agreement of other people, whether it's the audience or whether it's band members. Okay. In other words, if you don't have that agreement, you're not going to make music. You make sound. You can make a sound on an instrument maybe, but if nobody likes it, then they don't agree with you what the sound is, right? So the thing is that however you use the theory is precisely to express what it is you want to say with the music, right? Okay, that's fair. Nothing wrong with that. The same thing is true with program theory. What are you going to express with program theory? I don't know. I can't wait to find out. It's like listening to what's the name of that kid that played piano and guitar on Idol a couple years ago, the Mexican kid from Van Nuys or something, Alejandro something or the other, right? He came on and he plays the piano, he plays the guitar in ways. I mean, a guitar picker sitting there as the judge said, "I'm in the presence of greatness. I've never seen anybody do what you do." And the reason why it was because this kid is original. He's doing everything he's doing the way he does it. He learned how to do it himself. Well, with YouTube. He's an amazing mind, right? I can't do that, but this guy thinks about it that way, and he expresses himself that way. I can't do some of the things I see other people doing with programming. Doesn't mean that I don't understand it, or doesn't mean that I don't see what they're doing. I do, but I got to see how it is that they're going to get this accomplished. Okay, that's an important thing right at this point.
I was thinking when I was working through, I was thinking all these things of programming. And I was thinking, you got to learn something, but how do you know that you work in that way? So you must do it already, and somebody study that and then write about it, right? Yeah. I was thinking that when I was walking through the ship.
Yeah, but it's like you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
But it's like the girl, right? She already works like that,
That's right.
right?
That's right. this is not anything new, right? What we're talking about here is stuff that already exists for all of us. It's a matter of where do we do it and how do we do it? All this is true for us already. Okay, it's just, you know, the same thing with the girl. Music already exists that way. The music theory simply explains to us novices how to get into it, right? The music and the theory already exists. The relationships between the notes already exist. The relationship between chords already exist. And so when we learn about it, what we learn is how do we express with those structures. Same thing is true here. Okay, do we have something else there, Elise? Search for
No, I think it's here.
particular.
This particular set of existent theorems is selected for experiment for a number of reasons. There are a number of persons who experimented with LSD 25 state who write as if they believe implicitly in the objective reality of causes outside themselves for certain kinds of experiences undergone with these particular beliefs. I do not think it's wise to espouse either the existence or the non-existent theorem for this set of basic supra-metaprograms. To become impartial, dispassionate, and general purpose, objective and open-ended, one must trust and adjust the level of credence in each of his sets of beliefs. If ever man is to be faced with real organisms with greater wisdom, greater intellect, greater minds than any single man has, then we must be open, unbiased, sensitive, general purpose, and dispassionate. Our needs for fantasies must have been analyzed and seen for what they are and not what they are and are not, or we will be in even greater trouble than we are today.
Well, this is an interesting thought. How in the world would Lily know about greater minds? Yeah, because I'll tell you how. He worked with dolphins for a few years. Huh? With dolphins, delphines.
What does the word greater mean?
Greater maske. All right. More than. Okay. All right. There are minds that are more than or bigger than our minds. Dolphins, for instance, their brain waves about 20% or 25% more than ours does. Their brains do. They're large. Our brain's like 4 kilos and theirs is close to 8, I think, or 7. They're bigger, much bigger. I think we get to it eventually here, but so we'll come back to this. But that was a challenge for him because he wasn't the smartest guy in the swimming pool. They were. And the reason that they were was that they looked at you with 3 different points of view, not with one. They looked at you with sonar, they looked at you with clicks, and they looked at you with echolocation. Okay. And so when the people went down and studied the dolphins with him, and they were hiding behind the glass in the swimming pool, they thought that the dolphins didn't notice them. Do you think that piece of glass made a difference to the dolphins? Nah, they saw right through it. And so the dolphins did all kinds of strange and foolish things so that they could impress the people who are watching them. In other words, the dolphins fucked with the researchers. It's true, they did. There's an orca whale at SeaWorld that just got pissed off with all the people coming to see him. And so what he would do is he'd swim around the tank and he'd jump up and splash so he'd get everybody in the first 4 or 5 rows absolutely soaking wet. Is it? Fuck with me. Here. This is my environment. Bigger brain. What's anybody going to do with it? And the orca knew, right? And the orca said, "Fuck it, I can get. What are you going to do? Kill me?" No, really. And dolphins are like that. I mean, dolphins can be, and Lily's got all kinds of dolphin stories like that, where they're smarter than we are. They got a bigger brain. They have more input going into things. They think about things differently than we do. To begin with, they live in the water. The beach to them is like dry land, right? You know, the beach just is water, right? To them, it's noisy. Okay, because, and they just hang out on the beach because that's where all the fish are. Okay, so dolphins think about things differently than we do, right? A lot differently. They have an entirely different perspective. That doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. That means that it's different. And it's like, we need to pay attention that maybe we're not as smart as what we think we are. That maybe we can learn something from our aquatic friends over there called the dolphins. And maybe part of what we can think is not to be so damned arrogant. That maybe we need to think more about who we are and what we're doing. Maybe what we're doing is exactly right. Maybe what the dolphins are doing is also exactly right. Those are all, both thoughts can be true at the same time, and both thoughts need to be considered. Neither one of them would be correct. Neither one would be wrong. It would just simply be a matter of considering them to find out what we want to do with those thoughts. How do we want to interact with them? That's it. What do we do with those thoughts? Do we ignore them, pretend they're not there, or do we act on them? That's up to every individual. Okay, what else?
Our search for mentally healthy paths to human progress in the innermost realities depends upon progress in this area. Many men have floundered in this area of belief. I hope this work can help to find a way through one of our stickiest intellectual emotional regions.
Okay. People get caught in what they think they believe. What you think you believe and what you actually believe probably isn't anywhere close to the same. Probably not at all. It isn't very likely, as a matter of fact, that what you think you believe is actually what you believe. Because what you believe is going to be found in what you do, not in what you say. It's in what you do, really. Okay, that's a result of your belief. And whatever you believe is real will result in you doing real things. And that's where we get lost, because what we say we believe and what we actually believe are different. Because we think what we believe has to do with religion, or has to do with being right, or belonging to this club or to that club, like PRI or PON or Republican or Democrat or Black Lives Matter or the Rotary Club or take your pick to whatever club you want to belong to. But it's a club. Okay, that's what it is. And so we need to think about that, the reason why we believe that. Does it really fit us, or is it something that's convenient for us to hide in? Is it an evasion for us to say that that's what we believe, so we don't have to look at what we actually believe? Let me give you a real example of this one, okay? Elise's dad belonged to Knights of Columbus. That's like the Rosarians. Yeah, there's a club at the Catholic Church that the guys, it's Rosicrucians maybe. Yeah, Rosicrucians. Okay, that's the Knights of the Columbus in the United States. Okay, and so her dad belonged to that club, and so he took her with him down to that club, and he let everybody at the club use her when she was a kid. How can that be true? What he said he believed and what he actually believed were different, huh? Because he's over there saying, I really believe in this Rosicrucian idea of fairness and equality to all the people and kindness and so forth. But he's sending his daughter, but he's pouring out his daughter. What? How does that compute? It does. That's the problem. People say what they believe, and instead of actually dealing with what they do as what they believe. In other words, when you do something and somebody says, why are you doing that? You don't say, well, it's because I believe this is true. You say, oh, I'm not doing that, because you don't want to admit what you, if you'd ask her dad about what he was doing, he said, it's none of your business, or he'd defend it in some way. He wouldn't have said it's because I get horny over little girls. He wouldn't be able to say that, because that's really what he believed. That's really what he believed. That was the reality of what he did. You understand the difference? I need to go over it again. Okay, it's sobering, isn't it? But that's all of us do those kinds of things. We all say we believe something, and we believe something else. That's different. We say we believe one thing, we do a different thing. We gotta join those two ideas together in our minds. You say, okay, if I do it, I believe it. Okay, we just gotta get to that place to say, okay, I'm doing this thing, therefore I believe that thing is true. That gauge whether or not what you're doing is good for you or not. Okay, if you believe it, you're gonna do it. Period. You can check to see whether that thing you believe is real or not, though. You can find that out. You can examine what you believe is real. When you see yourself doing something, you say, okay, well, I'm doing this thing. It's simple. What color lipstick do you like to use? Why do you like that color? Why do you believe that that looks good on you? Is it because of your skin tone or because you like the color? And why do you like the color? Is that the color you saw when you were a kid? What are you trying to say with that color? Do you see what I'm saying? In other words, it's something as simple as putting lipstick on will tell, or rouge, or base, or makeup, or eyebrow lining, or whatever. Are you really a chola? Because if you're really a chola, then you know you got to put the lip liner on, but no lipstick. Yeah, I mean, really, you gotta wear a white blouse with a black bra. I mean, you got to do that, right? Otherwise, you're not really a chola. So you have to wear your colors, right? In other words, you have to say that this is who I am. You got to have a shiv in your freaking hair. There's no doubt about it. You gotta have bangs that go like this too, right out here. All the bangs should like that with ponytail, right, or a bun or something. If you're a real chola, that's you gotta dress the part. You don't. He doesn't know. He's never seen any of this shit, right? You lying piece of shit. You have to. If you spend any time in LA or in Houston or along the border, you're going to run into these ideas. Period. Yeah, you'll see it in Chicago. You'll see it in Detroit. You'll see it in a big city. You'll see all this stuff, right? Because that's how the kids are there. They're not bad kids. They're good kids. They're just they belong to their club, and they announce it. They even have their own damn language. Oh, they do. Yeah, like George Lopez says, right? Every Mexican is two Coronas away from share. CHAIR is not pronounced chair in Spanish. It's pronounced share. And so, if you're drunk enough, you're gonna speak Spanish. It's true, though, right? You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just that if you spoke Spanish all your life, share sounds correct to you, right? Like Jello, right? There was a long time where I just had a hell of a problem understanding whether people talk about the color or the jiggly food. Jello. It sounds like yellow, but it's not. It's Jello.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds exactly like my great grandma. When she getting a hearing or something, I don't understand what she's saying. She's saying it all different kinds of Spanish.
Oh yeah, well they all do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I find myself every once in a while say, okay, John, speak English or speak Spanish. Don't speak Spanish. Just don't. You know better, John. Don't do that. But what comes out of my mouth, it might be something else, right? But we all do those kinds of things. Okay. All right. This is a tough thing to do, to pay attention to what you actually believe is real. Because there's all kinds of emotions that go with it. There's all kinds of what if I do, what if I don't kinds of things. Okay. What if I'm really going to go to hell if I do this thing? What if God doesn't love me anymore? What if Jesus hates me? What if they gossip about me? What if mom, dad, grandma, Aunt Harriet, whoever doesn't like me? All of those things come into play for all of us, right? At one level or another. Sometimes we overcome it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it stays with us forever. Okay. One of my favorite stories about it for myself that I remember is that one time I asked my dad's oldest sister to tell me about one of my cousins. And she said, "Oh, he went off to Vietnam and became a lieutenant. He came back and he married some bitch from over by Pittsburgh, and I haven't seen him since." She summed up 40 years of the man's life with those 3 sentences. That was all of it. And I thought, well, Jesus, that was really rough. And I thought, oh, I wonder what she tells the world about me. And so I thought about the worst things that she could say, and I thought, yep, they're all true. You know? So why fight it? That's how she's going to tell the story. So why don't I accept that's how I am? That's how she sees me. Why would I want to fight that or defend it? That's what I've shown her. Why would I argue with her about any of that? That was a real eye opener to me, to be able to accept how she saw me without defending it. It's like, oh, yep, that's right. I really am that kind of a goofball. She's right. You understand? Okay, go ahead, Elise.
Most of these beliefs are ones which have been abandoned in the fields of endeavor called science. Such beliefs continue to be found in the field known as religion, and some of these beliefs are labeled in modern psychiatric medicine and anthropology as superstitions, psychotic beliefs, etc. Other persons present these beliefs in the writings called science fiction.
Well, it doesn't make much difference what you call your beliefs in real. Think about it from this perspective for a second. Da Vinci came up with all kinds of strange inventions, all kinds of things. Good things, bad things. Mostly they were war machines, but they're all things that would advance humanity. But he couldn't realize all the things because there wasn't enough agreement to make that happen. He could see how it would work, but he couldn't make it happen himself. We're just now starting to have the technology to check some of his inventions, and they're freaking brilliant. They are. They actually work. They actually work the way he says. Are they efficient? Not particularly. They're clunky. But given the time he saw it and what he had to work with, they're freaking brilliant. Okay. Some of the things that he observed was really brilliant. He who does not oppose evil commands it to be done. This is a guy that worked for the Medicis. Really? They were the bloodthirstiest lot in all of Italy, and he worked for them. So, and he's saying if you either tell them not to do it, or you're telling them to, you're either opposing it or you're telling them to do it. You're encouraging them. Well, that's true. That's a belief in real too, isn't it? Do we oppose evil or do we command it to be done? Is that a superstition? Is that science fiction? Is that a psychotic belief? No, it isn't. It's simply a reality that we choose to ignore. Neither here nor there, up nor down, right, left or right, or right or wrong, none of those kinds of things. It's just a belief we choose to ignore. We don't like looking at the idea that we command evil to be done when we ignore it. There's an example of a belief in real that we don't really ever acknowledge, but it's there. We all do this. We see people doing goofy things and we say, oh, that's none of my business. We see people doing goofy things. We say, oh, well, I wish they wouldn't do that. Even people that we know, we do it. The other day, when you replied to Chayo, and you said, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to oppose evil, right? When you were done with that, that changed your outlook about you, right? It has to, because all of a sudden you're saying, you know what? I know what I know about this, and I know that you don't know this. So you're wrong here, girl. And you're not being judgmental. You're not saying that you're not beating her up. You're not telling me she's good or bad, right or wrong. You say, you don't know. That's it. You're talking about shit that you don't understand. That draws a line for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that line's a pretty bright line for you. Then it's like, no, that was worthwhile for me to say that to the lady.
I have a different experience from her,
Yep.
and that's other.
Yeah, and so she can't deny that. She can't say that you didn't have that experience. You did.
Yeah.
You had the experience that you had, right? And it's important for you to understand that that's the experience that you had. Okay, so that's some of the things I'm trying to point out to people here, okay, is that we all have these things that we go through where we say, okay, I can't do this thing. I'm going to do that thing. I don't know how to do this thing. All these kinds of things we go through, right? All these evasions, we call it, for lack of a better term. None of the evasions are good or bad or right or wrong. They're just simply things that we can't look at this moment. They might be too seductive. They might be too chaotic. They might be too complicated for the moment for us. We might have too many other things on our plate at that moment. But when we get down to it, if we could simply say, okay, look, I know what I know. And I know how I learned what I know. And so therefore, I know that this thing is real within the limits of what I know to be true, okay? Can it be adjusted? Probably. Do I need to be dogmatic about it? Fuck no. Never. I never need to be dogmatic about it. But there are things I do know that unless you can show me differently, I got to pretty much stand there. I got to stand on these things I know to be true. I can't deny that I live the things I know. Same as with you. You can't let that girl say to you that she knows something you don't know. She doesn't know what you know about it. She's full of shit. And for her to pretend as though she knows about it is a travesty on her part, not on your part. Yeah, and well, and so you know right away that because of the blame is still going to be a fool's errand, right? It's always going to be a fool's errand. And so somebody's blaming somebody else, they're acting a fool about it because, why are you blaming somebody else for what it is that you yourself have done? Or for what you yourself are doing? Why blame somebody else for what you're doing? Why not just say, okay, yeah, I'm doing this? It's easier.
Sometimes blame is an evasion too.
Oh, it's always an evasion. Yeah, it's always an evasion. If you're gonna blame somebody who stole something from you because you stole from, that's a different thing. Okay, what I'm talking about is blaming somebody for a wrong or that they hurt your feelings or that they did something that you don't understand at all. Okay. No, that's not okay. Those are things that are beliefs are real that we need to change or adjust somehow or the other. Okay. Because blame doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't mean that you can't blame somebody. It doesn't mean you can't blame yourself. When, if you do something dumb, you say, okay, I did that.
Okay. Guilt is like blaming yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's blaming.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I did this bad thing. I don't know. How can you look at me anymore? Well, I'm not blaming you. You're the one that's blaming you. And I don't care you did the dumb thing. You're kind of funny when you're doing it. You're laughing at me too? Yes, I am. I'm laughing at you. Why? Because you're funny. That's why I did a stupid ass thing. And so I'm going to laugh my ass off at you. I knew this little girl one time ran into a wall. She was going to the bathroom. She was looking at flowers. She walked by and ran right into a wall. And just smacked. Came back and I said, Miha, what happened to you? She said, I ran into the wall. I said, why? She said, I like those flowers a lot. And I was looking at them. And I just ran into the wall. Okay, no excuse, no nothing. I just ran into the damn wall. That's what happened. I was dumb. She was really straight about it too. Miha, why'd you do that? For tonto. For dummy. Because I'm a dummy. That's all. I just ran into the wall. Wasn't like what I was doing. You gotta love that kid, right? Because it's an honest kid, right? She's not making an excuse for that. That's what I did. You want to hug that kid and dance at her next wedding, right? Because that's somebody that's worthwhile. Because they're not going to confuse themselves with lots of excuses if they keep that up for the rest of their life. That's an important thing. Okay. All right, guys. That's all of it for tonight. I hope everybody had a good time. I did. I like watching you all suffer. It's a belief in real I have, So. If anybody have questions in the peanut gallery out there in Etherland?
I don't think so. It's still, it was interesting to me.
Well, Carmen, you always have fun with it, so. Okay, kids,
No.
we'll see. Oh,
No, I'm not fighting.
okay. Then I'll tell you what, we'll see you guys next week, same time, same station. How's that?
Thank you.
All right, good night.
See you.
Yeah,